The boys would like to build a bat house for our property, which I think is actually a pretty good idea. If we have a bat house, the bats will help with bug control during the summertime, as long as we can attract them into the bat house. So what I've got here is a 3/4 inch of plywood. I paid maybe 15 bucks for this. It was already kind of cut in half. And I got 2 halves because I'm not sure how much wood I'm gonna need here. I've kind of measured out some 20 inch wide sections. So my box is gonna be 20 inches wide, about 6 inches deep. And at the longest point, it'll probably be about 30 inches. And then what I need to do is create several different little areas inside of this box where the bats can squeeze up in between. But one of the things that I think you'll run into when you're trying to build a bat house or something of this nature is that you can't have smooth wood. The bats need something that they can claw and climb up. I've actually seen some bat houses where they've installed bark, where they've installed wire, but you know, as the bats are pooping and peeing on these things, the bat houses tend to break down, and so it doesn't, long term, trying to screw something like bark or wire onto the boards isn't really going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rough these boards up before I cut them, so I can just do all one side all at once, and then I'll cut all the pieces up, and as soon as the boys are ready, we'll start putting this thing together, trying to assemble it. So I've never made a bat house before. I've always wanted a bat house, so this is kind of a new adventure for me. And then I'll show you guys in another video how we install the bat house, because I don't have the pole for it today, so we're just going to try and get this thing put together right now. Okay, so to quote-unquote rough this thing up, what I thought I would do is just kind of set this saw up so it just goes into the wood a tiny bit, like so. I actually want it to be even less than that if I can. Alright, so now I should be able to just take my saw and run it across the wood, and it'll give the effect I'm looking for. Okay, so for the most part, I just kind of jigged the saw in randomly throughout most of these. On this last one here, I kind of did a little bit of a pattern. We'll see if they like that one any better than kind of this random bark pattern. I'm guessing they're gonna like the random pattern better. It's a little easier to grip, but I think they'll be able to move around on that. All right. My next step is to go ahead and cut these lines that I measured. Again, I've got lines marked 20 inches apart, long ways. And then I've kind of measured them 30 inches long. So each panel that I cut right now is going to be 20 inches by 30 inches. Okay, something that I didn't do that I should have taken into consideration is I need about a 15-degree angle on the top of my backboard so that my roof can come in on there at a slight slant to shed water. So I'm going to do a 15-degree angle on this top board, and that should, I think that should solve my problem. Now these are my sideboards, which I just need to trim down so that they fit with my backboard as far as length, and I will cut the tops of these down by about a 15-degree angle as well. That way everything fits fine on the top roof part of this. All right, so this is kind of the back of the box here. And the first thing you want to do is you want to give yourself a landing pad that's not covered so that they can come in and land on the bottom of this. And I've seen them layered in several different ways. What I'm thinking I'll probably do is come up maybe every 3 inches and create another landing strip essentially until I get to a smaller panel for the front of the box. Up at the top here I want to leave some room for kind of what I guess you would call an attic space, so that they can get up to the top there and have a private room of sorts for babies or whatever it is they want to do there. So I'm going to create that attic space as well. So I probably want to leave myself a good 3 inches up top, 3 inches at bottom. So I'll measure this, take 6 inches off the next one, and take 3 inches off of that length, 3 inches off of that length. And that's how we'll get all of our pieces put together here. You want about 1 inch in between each of these. And I think on one of these I may have just cut it off. I had measured out, let's see, I had measured out how many of these boards I'm going to need in there, but the bat only actually needs about that much space between each one. Okay, so here's what I have. I have my backboard, and then the next one, next one, next one. I may need one more board, so I just stuck this in there, and I probably won't have this one go all the way up to the top. If I do, it will probably just kind of sit semi in the center there of some sort, or maybe like that far down, just to give a little more space up here. And then this is my attic. There's a hole on one side so they can crawl up into that space. I'll probably need to make sure I leave a good roughed up edge for whichever side they go up into it from. And then we've got our sideboards, and then what we'll do after we get this put together is grab our other piece of wood and cut a front and a top for it. Because I cut all these the same width. I didn't cut one long enough, but I don't think I'm gonna have enough wood anyway. So this is a pretty solid looking piece right here. What I'll probably do is work with the boys on screwing all of this together, or putting it together, however we're gonna do it. And then once we get that done, we'll work on the closing it in. So the first thing I'm going to assemble I'm gonna put the sides on the bat house. So I need to grab a screwdriver, and I've just got some 2-inch decking screws that we will drive into the sides of this thing. Right along there.
Here, I'll hold that for you.
1 second. As soon as I get this in, it'll hold itself, see? But after I get this bottom one in, you can screw in the other two. Try and hold it straight as you do it. Okay, so what I want is for the board, I'll hold the boards and then you will drill. I want this to be 7/8 of an inch wide. So right there. Go ahead and put that screw in. I'm gonna go over about the same,
Wow, that's a tiny layer.
yeah, same distance. I might make this one right at an inch. So right,
So many big screws.
we'll do right at an inch. Okay, go ahead. So now we're just going to flip this over. Okay. Now. Okay. Okay, so
24 kilograms.
what we're doing now, Ben, is placing what we just screwed together up inside. And then we're gonna set screws in from the outside here. The distance of each of these is we only want it to be about the same as what we measured up top. So it's 7/8 right about there. Ah, battery died. So what I'm doing here is I'm just making sure all of these are between 7/8 to an inch in depth. You might want to do these up front here a little bigger. But bats like to have a very narrow brood space to go up into. So after I set this side, I'll set the other side, and then I'll try and figure out where my measurements line up at the top there. So I ended up doing 2 screws at the base of each of these, and that may be all I need. I probably don't have to run screws all the way up and down this thing. Now I'm gonna go through and measure the other side. Now you could have these kind of become a little narrower or wider throughout. I'm just gonna try and do them all the same size because I feel like I have enough variation throughout this thing to not try and create it unnecessarily. Okay, so at this point, I've got my bat box all set up. I have my brood areas for the bats. I have an attic area, and this is how it works. You have a little opening they can crawl up. They can get on top of this platform, and this is where their babies would go if they want to have them. I think that's what the attic space is for. When I put a cover on this, there's not really going to be a ton of room in that attic space. It'll be a pretty tight little space, which I believe is the right design. Correct me if I'm wrong, I could very well be wrong. My next thing that I'm gonna do is cut the front for this, and I don't want the front coming all the way down. I wanna leave a landing pad for the bats. So I want the front piece of wood to have at least 3, maybe 4, even 5 if you want, inches at the bottom here to give the bats kind of a way of coming up in there and landing. They call that kind of like your landing pad. One of the things that I have seen done wrong on a lot of commercial bat houses is that they come all the way down and they don't provide that essential landing pad for the bats. Okay, so for my top, I just measured along the side of the box. I may just want to go ahead and make sure this line is straight before I cut because it looks like the box is a little curved. All right, when I do this top cut, I'm gonna cut it at a 15-degree angle so that it matches the angle of my roof. Now, I'm actually going to extend this cut that I was just doing up just a tad, and this will be my roof. I'll show you how that will work here in a second. Now, before I finish cutting my roof, just to make sure that the roof fits right, I'm gonna go ahead and install this front onto the bat house. So with that 15-degree cut, when you run your hand along here, it should be pretty smooth all the way across. That's the objective that I was going for there. Now I'll start by screwing up here. Go ahead and put one in on the other side. Now I'll just work my way down with screws on each side. Okay, so in designing this, I've given myself about a 2.5-inch overhang with the cut I just made for the length of my top. And I want to give myself about a 2.5-inch overhang for the side here as well. So we'll do 11.5 inches deep. The overhang is to help create a roof that will help protect the box a little bit better than just a roof that would be perfectly sealed. It'll also help keep it a little more dry on the inside for the bats because it will have the proper hangover there. So we want this to be about 11.5 inches wide so it can come out over the top, and then it's going to be about 2.5 inches overhang down the sides. So here's our bat house. The next thing that I need on this bat house is I need a front vent and a back vent because it needs ventilation on both the front and the back side. What I'm probably gonna do here on the front side, and I don't have time to do it right now, but I will do it before we hang it, is I'm gonna do a bat design because I think the kids would really get a kick out of that if we did kind of like a cool bat type thing on the front. And that'll give me enough ventilation across the front for the bat house. On the back side, I'm probably just going to cut a 3/4 inch strip out of the back of it, and that'll be my ventilation on the back side. So I'll just carefully set the saw so that it's just going through the top piece of wood and run it across 2 straight lines on the back side for the vent. So I'm gonna wait on doing the vents right now, but this is pretty much all there is to it besides your vents. You could do like a 1/2 inch vent just across the front, same way with a saw, just cut a line out of here that's about a 1/2 inch wide, about as wide as your finger. Do a little bit of a larger vent on the back side. And then this is going to have to mount to a pole and stand about over 10 feet up in the air from the base of this. So ideally about 12 feet. So I'm gonna get a 4x4x16 and mount it. And once it's up there, because this is pretty heavy, I'm gonna use some concrete down at the base to help solidify it, and I'll have to brace it with some timbers. So stay tuned for the rest of this. I'm gonna end this video here. This is the basic creation of it, and then we'll go through the install, and if I have time to film while I do the venting. If I try and do a bat, I'm not sure my saw skills are worth filming, but I'll try and get some of that on camera, and we'll do the install of this a little later. But that's pretty much it. These bat houses, you've got your landing pad down here. They create an awesome habitat for the bats. You also may want to paint something like this to help preserve the wood. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do to treat this just yet. You can look at different options online.